Okay, let's get busy here today. First off, I don't have a microphone. I just ordered a microphone, so I am getting a microphone to improve the audio quality here of these videos. Today we're going to go ahead, glue up the tail. We're going to center another servo, install control horns, install the servo arm as well onto the servo. And then we're going to put that all together here on the airplane. I know the tail's already on here, but I recorded a video last week putting a tail on the airplane, and my SD card got corrupted. And this was one video I lost last week, so we're going to reshoot this today, and I'll improve upon it since I only did one take last week. Anyway, let's get started here. First thing, in the last video I cut this out of foam board just from Hobby Lobby or Dollar Tree, whatever you want to, whatever foam board you happen to like. So here we're going to glue this up. Just a little glue. It's a new glue stick, so I got to push it in a little bit. Little glue there. Push this through. And then we'll get a 90-degree edge here so that we can keep it nice and straight while the glue sets up. I'm just going to use a ruler here just to make that a nice 90-degree angle there. Hold it in place while the glue sets up. I'm out here in Gilbert, Arizona. It's a little hot today. I'm recording in my garage. It must be near 100, and the humidity is really high because we've had monsoons here in the valley. But anyway, hold that for just a minute, let it set up. Then what I'm going to do, just add a little bead of hot glue here on the inseam. A little bead of glue here. And then I'm going to take and smooth that. Got a scrap piece of foam here. Bend it up just a little bit. Smooth that out. Do the same on this side. We'll smooth it out so it looks real nice, pretty. And then this is still setting up. I'll get my ruler out again. Hold it there for just a minute. It's almost set up here. So anyway, we'll let that set up. Next, we're going to go on to centering a servo again. So I've got, this is just a servo centering device, also a servo tester. I'm going to line up the servo. It's got minus, positive, and signal, and we got our minus, positive, and signal right here. Remember, yellow or white is always your signal wire, red is always your positive, and black or brown is always your negative. So I'm just going to pop the control horn on here and show you what I mean by centering the servo. So I'm going to turn this on, and you can see there that the servo arm is not straight up and down. So I'm going to take this little button here, and there's 3 positions. This one runs the servo through all the different positions. The next button over is tied to the rheostat here, so you can manipulate it manually through the rheostat. The center, when I click the button here, the center position, that is the center. So I'm going to take this horn off, reposition a little bit, and see if I can make it any better. So that's not really any better. Let's see if that... So I think that's about as best as we're going to do with centering up the servo. So we'll go with it right there. Turn this off. Get this out of the way. And what I'm going to do before I center this up, or install the push rod on it, I'll show you something. So when you get these, this one's already drilled out. So this 1 millimeter push rod fits nicely through there. But when you get these, this is another control arm that comes in your servo package. I'm just going to use this for demonstration purposes. So this one, it happens to fit through nicely. If it doesn't fit, if your push rod doesn't fit nicely into the hole, and 90% of the time they don't, just get yourself a 1/16 drill bit and you can drill out, or a 1 millimeter drill bit if you have a 1 millimeter drill bit, and then you can drill out that hole. Or another technique you can do, and I showed this in the earlier video, is you can take your push rod, heat it up just a little bit with a lighter or a blowtorch or just something to heat it up, and then poke that hole, poke that push rod through the hole, and just kind of exercise it a little bit, and that'll make it like perfect. So anyway, that's what I do. I'm going to put this aside. So next, we're going to take the little screw that comes in your package of screws that are in your servo box. This one, you'll notice, is a machine screw. It has a flat end. It does not have a tipped end. So that's the screw in the box that's going to go right here on your servo. I'm just going to take that, screw that into place there. I got it started. I'm going to hold the arm just to keep it from moving while I'm tightening it down. And there you go. So now that's installed. Next thing we're going to do, this is set up. I'm going to put this aside for right now. We are going to install the control horn, and these are available on the website. These are 3D printed parts. I think Chris may supply them in the kit as well. Anyway, when we install this on the elevator or your rudder, whichever control surface you want to install it on, we're going to install this one on the elevator, and it's going to go right about there. And you notice we want where the push rod is going to go through as close as possible to the hinge line there. So we want that to go right like that when we install this. So that's all I'm going to do is just take my knife. I'm just going to make a slit here in the foam board. I'll take my screwdriver and just widen it up a little bit just so we can get some glue in there. Before I glue this to here, I'm going to attach the push rod connector. So this is just a little push rod connector. I'll leave a link in the description below about where to get these. That goes right through there like that. Let me get a nut. I forgot to grab a nut for this. So here I got a nut, and that nut's going to go on right here. But first I'm going to take a little bit of, this is thread locker, this is the blue. This is kind of like the medium grip, I think. They have a heavy duty grip as well. I'm just going to take a little bit of my thread locker. Oh, that's quite a bit of thread locker actually. Didn't want that much. But anyway, got the thread locker on there. Way overdid it with the thread locker, but that's fine. Get my screw started, my nut started on here. And you want it so that your control link can still move in the freely when it's attached to the horn. You're not trying to cinch this down. So that's installed. If you don't have thread locker, something else that works is just a little tiny bead of hot glue. Again, I overdid it with the hot glue, but we'll wipe that off. So, just a little bead of hot glue on there will also lock it in place. Now I'm going to take this little screw, pins the push rod in place. Let me get this fully installed. I'm going to put that little screw in place here. And you don't want to tighten it down all the way because we're gonna install our push rod in there, and if you go too far with it, you won't be able to get your push rod in there. So I like to do all this ahead of time. It's easier to work with this in my hand like this versus installing it and then trying to put all the parts and pieces on there. So now we'll put the control horn on here, a little bit of hot glue. And you notice on these control horns there's a little hole down here. This hole is meant to give the glue something to stick to inside and just kind of give a better connection when it's installed in the foam board. So now that goes on there just like that. Okay, so essentially we've got the tail all set and ready to go onto the tail section of the fuselage here. So that's all you're going to do, and I didn't want to rip this off the airplane today. So the tail, you're just going to add a little bit of hot glue to the EPP foam and then place your tail surface on that foam like this, and just let it hot glue in there and try to get the alignment as straight as possible so that your tail is nice and straight. And then what I do is I grab a couple of toothpicks and just punch them through the foam and then use my cutter to cut it flush, and that really makes a nice tight connection there for your tail. Next, let's go ahead and install our servo here. So here we got our servo. It's ready to be installed. And if I was thinking, I would have put the wire the other way. But anyway, we got it installed that way. It's no big deal. So all I do is, notice I took some of the excess wire. I'm just going to put a little bit of that excess wire into the hole there. Push that down, and then make a cut just like that. And you can run it through there, I don't know, ½ inch maybe, 1/3 of an inch, ½ inch, just enough to bury that wire inside the foam just like that. And now that wire is nice and hidden. You can push it down in there, just like that. And now that's installed. The cutout here for the servo hose is really nice and tight. You almost don't even need to add any hot glue to the servo. It's not going to go anywhere, but I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. So the way I'm going to do that, add a little bit of hot glue right underneath the wing of the servo there, and a little bit on this side, and then I'm just going to push it in place, and that little bit of hot glue is all you need. You don't need to add a whole bunch of hot glue there, and then I'm just going to smooth it out, make it nice and pretty. So anyway, you don't need to go overboard with the hot glue. This is just keeping that servo in place, just like that. Next thing I'm going to do, this push rod is already cut, but I'm going to show you how to install, or how to cut a push rod for our application here. A lot of times when you get these push rods, they already have a Z-bend, and I'm just going to use my hand to show you. You can see the Z-bend there in the push rod is already in this. But I'm going to use, this is called a Z-bender tool. You can get these on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. And I'm just going to put that into the tool like this. You can see the tool's got a Z-bend to it. I'm going to squeeze the tool And now I have a nice Z-bend. Next thing I'm going to do is lay this out like that. Run it to where my control horn is here. So from the arm to the control horn here. And now I'm just going to, the way I'm going to mark it is just with my finger, just by picking it up and knowing that it needs to be cut right about there. This is my wire cutter. Just going to take it on there like that and snap it. And now we have an appropriately sized push rod for our application here for the elevator. I'll poke that through that top hole. And in this airplane, it really is not going to matter if you use the top hole or the second hole. So here I'll show you, just for example, this arm here, you can see, I got it at an angle here, that the push rod does not want to go through there. So I might as well take this opportunity to show you how to fix that. Let me get my blowtorch here because that's what's closest to me. So what I'm going to do here, so I'm just going to take a push rod here, one of the 1mm push rods, and just heat it up a little bit with my blowtorch. I'm going to go down to that second hole and push it right through there. Now I can easily add my push rod. So now let's connect that push rod to the back of the connector here on the tail. That goes right through there like that. I'm going to take my elevator and hold it in a position that's level, just like that. I'll give this a little tighten down here. Now I'll grab the push rod with this hand to keep it from flexing while I tighten. I'm just going to give it a good tighten here. And now that's on there nice and secure. So we're going to take care of this. You notice there's some flex here to the push rod. We're going to take care of that. The way we take care of that is by adding zip ties. So I've got 2 zip ties here. What I'm going to do is I want this twist tie to come through and go. We're going to embed it right there. So I'm going to take the tie and cut it down because we aren't going to need all this. I'm going to cut it down to, well, hang on a second, let me put it on here first and then I'll cut it down. So I'm going to cinch this on here just like this, and you can see I left just a little tiny loop here at the end. Now what I'm going to do is take my cutter, cut this at an angle. It's got like a dagger shape here now to the to the zip tie. I'm going to do the same thing with a second twist tie. I'm going to install this one back more toward the tail here. And I want that to go through there so it comes like this. So I'll slide that underneath there. I'll pull this through. Tighten it up real nice. Well, I'll go a little bit tighter than that. Now I'm going to make another dagger. Just like that. So I got my 2 daggers, zip ties cut to look like daggers there. Next, I like using my little hobby knife to make these cuts. I'm going to make my first one right about here. I'm just going to put the knife through there a little bit just to get the cut started. And I'll push that on there like that. Let's say I'm going to install this next one like right here. So just a little go there. Now I'm going to loosen this one up because obviously I'm not going to get enough play on the push rod to push that into place. So now I'm going to grab them both. I'm going to push them both in place at the same time. Just like that. Now this push rod won't flex around when it's activating the control surface. Next, we'll back these out a little bit. We'll add a little bit of glue. Just a dab of hot glue here. I'm going to push these both back into place again. I'm trying to stay out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And now those aren't going to go anywhere. Let's put a receiver on here and a battery, and we will exercise the control surface.